We're going to talk about why Herb Jones is the Pelicans' X factor. Let's get into the show.
First took away. That's the disc. Get your money's worth.
Smash that like button. Presented to you by the Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Propels Talk, located at 19 Poydras Street by the Superdome. Give them a call at 504-523-5413 if you're someone you know has been involved in an accident. The Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Propels Talk. 5, Lido and Ross tonight. We've had a couple days off, so we're gonna get a little show out tonight. Then obviously we'll have the recap tomorrow. But 5, I'm gonna start with you. I was texting you and Lido earlier today. I was doing some just some numbers on Herb Jones, and just kind of his offensive progression has, and you get to see him almost every day, 5, and just the way he works at his shot and his work ethic and things of that nature. And before the season started, we had talked about what's realistic for Herb Jones to shoot from 3 and where would the Pelicans be successful. I think this whole panel here said around 36-37%. Well, right now, 5, on about 3.5 attempts, he's shooting a career high 35.4% from deep. And from the free throw line, he's shooting a career high 87.3%. Those are obviously upticks from the previous 2 years. Obviously, it's 34 games. There's still a half of a season left to play. But what have you seen from Herb Jones? And when he's hitting threes, how hard is this team to defend?
I think Herb's ability I think he got a raw deal last year, right? He was put in certain positions where it was either make or break, right? Herb Jones in the corner, wide open. Almost for a guy that's a non-shooter, it's almost like a death knell, right? Like you put in a position you shouldn't be put in, you got to shoot it. And then if you miss, it's like, everything else falls apart. And I think last year he would, miss some shots and that would kind of impact his defense or impact the other way he would play. This year, it doesn't necessarily affect him at all, right? He can miss. I think like the OKC game, even Ross brought it up at one point. It's like, he took way too many threes, right? I think he was like 0 for 7 to start. And then he finally hit one when everybody else hit one. And I think that's kind of the premise of it, right? Like if you limit Herb to a couple threes a game rather than him get outside of himself, that's a good version of Herb, right? That's a good version where you don't ask him to shoot 4 and 5 and 6 threes. You keep him at 3 to 2 to keep the defense honest. I think he's been put in, again, a precarious situation here because you don't necessarily surround him with a shooter. Imagine if he was just on the floor with Trey Murphy, right? Or in just CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram. Like the onus is not on him to shoot at that point. Like he could do the other things that he's good at. Like I think Herb's a good finisher at the rim. He's a good playmaker off the pick and roll. If you screen and give him the ball and he pocket pass and he can kind of make a play as well. Like there are other ways to get him involved. I think just having him sit in the corner is not conducive to winning.
Yeah. Lita, go ahead.
I think I really like what 5 just said, especially the amount of threes that he takes. I think that's important because you kind of saw December, his shooting fell off a cliff a little bit because he started shooting about 5 and 6, and that's like way too much. You want him to take situational threes, and you want him to take threes that he feels comfortable taking. Now, here's the thing: a lot of times, and he's started doing this more often. He's pump faking, and he'll get to the rack. You know what I'm saying? Or he'll just make the next connecting pass. Herb's a really smart player, so I really don't like when they just sit him in the corner and pigeonhole him from doing other things. And Herb is a special athlete in the sense of, I talk about the Zion live ball turnover rebound situation, right? Herb also can get the ball and go coast to coast with it. Is creative enough to get in the lane and in your words has one of the best Euros in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like he is a guy who I would like to see. And when people hear this, they think, like, for instance, when you say play through JV, people think that you want JV to take 30 shots. Herb is a guy who I like to see him more with the ball in his hands because we know about his point guard ability. You see him in situations where he looks comfortable getting other guys in situations. I asked Willie Green on Media Day, would we expect to see him more in a Draymond Green role? And he told me, yeah, but we still haven't seen it. And I think that could be another key to unlocking the squad. And to Follw's point, yo, bro, put shooters around Herb as well. You can mask a lot of deficiencies because, like, I'm about to write an article about this anyway, but Herb is so smart with just making slot cuts. You don't necessarily have to be a shooter to affect the game.
We're gonna dive into that because me and Five had a really long conversation today about, and I even asked him. I'm gonna ask him later in the segment, but like I asked him, well, with the defense just leaves him alone. There's still other ways to affect. Like if they just leave him in the corner, he doesn't have to shoot. There are other ways that he can be involved, and we're gonna get into that. But Ross, go ahead. Your thoughts on just Herb Jones through 33, 34 games so far, and what you've seen from him.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a ton. When he makes 2 or more threes, we win. It's as simple as that. And, there's been this focus, I think, on just the first half of this year. But if you go look after the All-Star break last year, you've got a really big sample size, like almost 200 3-pointers attempted, and he's over 38%. So you talk about 38 games this year, half a season last year, you're really at about a full season consecutively of him as a 38% three-point shooter. For me, that's a meaningful sample size. He's not a guy that's going to there's going to be games he gets left open. But I think he's gotten better at least making you pay from time to time when he is left open. And to y'all's point, I mean, I think he has some special qualities offensively, but for me, I think where he impacts the game the most, I mean, obviously outside of the defense, but on the offensive end is getting out in transition. Like y'all have already said, I think he's maybe our best transition player, period, in terms of pushing the ball. He's always, I mean, and a lot of it's effort. He is creative in terms of finishing in those kind of like high speed moments, but he's just a guy that and a long rebound or a deflection, anything like that, Herb's ass is running the court. And so when you combine kind of his ability and willingness to go in and accept contact and finish around the rim and his willingness to always be hustling down the court, I think that's where you start to get into some of those qualities that affect winning and losing.
Yeah, and y'all talk about transition. Someone on Twitter today even said about attacking the rim. He's attacking the rim, and he's also shooting at 84% from the free throw line. So, like, he's not scared of the free throw line. He's not scared of contact. Y'all mentioned, and all three of y'all mentioned about transition. So Five, I'll start with you. I wrote these stats down today. When Herb Jones has 4 more rebounds in a game, the Pelicans are 13-4. When he has 3 or less, they're 9-8. So when he's rebounding the basketball and the Pelicans are getting out and they're in transition and Herb Jones is when he gets it, he goes. He doesn't give it up. Like, he's getting it and going. They're 13-4. Those two stats, like, I know it's once again still 34 games in. Do you think that's telling of anything?
I always thought Herb was like the nail, and I use it's not like necessarily nail of like a basketball sense, but just nail, like, if this guy plays well, the Pelicans win. Like, I always thought it was him. No matter, like, Brandon can play well, Zion can play well. That doesn't tell me if they win or lose. If Herb Jones plays well, they either is very efficient or is closely related to winning, right? Herb Jones rebounding. I mean, Willie Green even talked about this too, just the wings in general, right? We talk about Trey ad nauseum, like he has to rebound better, but Herb as well. Like, Herb should probably average around 6 or 7 rebounds at minimum. And that's just my opinion. I think the idea of rebounding to this team is a little low for me, right? Like, just allow JV to get all the rebounds. Although you want JV to get rebounds, but I think he'll be all right. Like, he's grown. He's a big boy. Like, he can get his own. Like, if just being more involved, right, and being a ball hawk, as we like to describe Herb as, he has to be like that on the boards. If he gets more rebounds, and I know it's very difficult when you're guarding the best perimeter player, right? And you're trying to get steals and blocks and also help your teammates. It's a lot. It can be. But to be brutally honest, they're not asking Herb to score 30 on the other end either. So, like, your objective is okay, cool. Stop the best player or attempt to, right? And secure the rebound. Like, although Herb's a really good transitional player, you're not dunking over everybody. Like, you
Dunked
are
on
more.
the only team he dunked on over everybody was Sacramento, which was fantastic. That was a
Yeah,
couple
I mean,
teams.
like he's not like this, like highlight-esque player. He's not
Right.
Gerald Green. He's like it's not him.
Mhm.
Herb's ability should be, yo, I'm locking down and I'm securing the boards. And then I'm gonna push the pace. I can be secondary-esque and move in that way. I think that's the best version of Herb, not trying to leak out. I hate the leaking out of this team because you give up way too many second chance points.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lito. So yeah, Lito, 4 more rebounds, 13, 4, 3 or less, 9 and 8.
Hey, the information that you have, do you think the coaching staff has that information?
Yeah, they definitely do. But I'm interested in that. Like, it's an interesting. People really don't. If you think about it, right? A good team's gonna shoot 45, 46, 48% a night, right? That means they're missing 53% of the time. Rebounding is a huge deal, especially in the NBA. The best teams in the league, the championship contending teams, rebound. You got JV who cleans the glass, but I've seen an uptick with Brandon. I've seen a little bit better from Zion, but as Five said, I'm looking at Herb and I'm looking at Trey because these stats don't lie to me that when Herb Jones is rebounding the basketball, they usually win.
The math that you just said on the shots missed, do you think the coaching staff has access to those numbers?
Yes, they do.
They got a really good not to cut you off, my bad, Lito. They got a really good analytics guy. Like,
They do.
dude's super smart.
They
We've
do.
tried. We've tried getting him on the show. Someone won't allow him on. We won't say that said guy. But go
I
ahead.
like this version of Justin, man. Like this shit I'm talking about. You Jermaine again.
I didn't know I lost Jermaine. Okay. go
Yeah,
ahead.
man. Yeah. I forgot what you did, but But look, but nah, man. Hey, completely unrelated before I get to my point. But that boy Rob Dillingham, cold. Oh my God.
Kentucky guards, man.
Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I only watch March Madness, but go ahead.
Cal, a terrible coach. Listen, man. Herb Trey, they definitely got to get. They got to be a part of the rebounding game. Like we talk often. We've spoken ad nauseum. Rebounding is not one person's job. It is a team thing. Defense is a team thing, right? I feel like, again, to Ross's point, right? Herb in transition is another weapon. I think Herb could probably average 13 points a game just based off getting in transition alone. Like, you getting the rebound, you running, right? Like it you make a 3 or 2, like the points will be there. And the thing is, like, him scoring on this team is lanyard. It's not.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't necessarily need, like Bob said, I'm not looking for him to score 30. I'm not even looking for him to score 15. But it's like, you come home and your mom got the big butter beans in the pot. Like, oh shit. Like, damn, I came here at the right time. That's lanyard. I appreciate that. So you take that with Herb, and he's gonna hang his hat on defense, right? Herb is probably, for real, if we keep it in a buck, as I've evolved in watching basketball, I'm not phased out on defense. I just think that defense is it should be situational. It shouldn't be a specialist defensive guy.
I really want to talk about this. This is something I thought about today. Justin, Ross, even Lito, you're baseball guys. Think about, like, the batting champ in baseball, right? Like, it's almost like it's an award, but nobody gives a fuck about it anymore.
I used to give a fuck about it. I give a fuck about OBP. That's what I give a fuck about.
That's what I'm saying. Like Tim Anderson won it like a couple years ago, and I was like, fucking right, and nobody gave a fuck. Like, nobody cared that Tim Anderson won this award. I'm like, bro, you know how hard this shit is? I think he batted like 327 or something, or 337 or something like that. Yeah. I'm like, nobody cares. It's like, it's like a throwaway award. So I kind of use that as, like, like the defensive side, right? Like it's something that, you care about in a sense, but that's not how the game is played today.
Mhm.
It's situational. Yeah, of course, you want to get on base as much as possible, or you want to hit for an average. Great. But that's not how the game is won today. You still
Right.
need it, but it's not won that way. So defense, like a guy like Herb, can still be impactful. I think he still needs to score in a sense, right? I'm not saying like he doesn't need to score 20 or 30, but he definitely needs to score 10 plus to be impactful. Um, I I just think the way the NBA is played, we kind of have to just move off of defense as a like a staple.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up that baseball analogy, Five, because I was gonna bring up to Lito's point about Lanyap. Like it's like an all-star catcher, right? Defensive catcher, but he's getting a hit. Like like the catcher he's more worried about the pitcher and the battery and things like that. If he's hitting 220, it's kind of like Lanyap, like, hey, you got on base tonight, like that's good. It's kind of with Herb, but what's interesting about Herb, Ross, is I don't even think he needs to be shooting the 3 ball to get 10 points. Like the way he's shooting from free throws, as one of y'all said, like the way he slot cuts, the way he can finish in transition is interesting. But when he rebounds, they win.
Yeah, I mean, I look at like what Drew Holiday is doing this year, and he's unquestionably like changed. Well, I mean, he's changed the way he plays by necessity, right? Because he moved to a team like with the Celtics. They've obviously got a bunch of perimeter ball handlers, guys that initiate the offense. Like he's not really being asked to do a ton of that offensively. In a lot of ways, I think Herb could like model his game in a similar way. Like you don't have a ton of responsibilities in the half court. Drew Holiday's averaging 6.5 rebounds this year. I mean, Drew Holiday's guarding the other team's best guard most nights. This has been my one knock on Herb this whole year and going back to last year. Like for a guy that I give a ton of credit to for effort, just talked about him getting out in transition, always runs the court hard, all that stuff. Like I haven't seen a willingness, and it could be a bunch of reasons, right? Like it just might not be instinctual for him or what. I haven't seen a guy that just is like, nah, it's my rebound. Like shot goes up, I'm getting in the paint. It's my rebound. And I think, if he could do a little bit more of that, you would see his game expand. And people would stop thinking of him as just like, oh, this random, really good defender that can't really do much otherwise. I think that would really broaden his reputation. You start talking about all defensive teams and things like that. I think his reputation would grow if he became a guy who was averaging 6, 7, 8 rebounds a night, pushing the ball up the court. He would end up getting more assists. Like the stat portfolio, I think, would broaden just off of that one thing.
It's funny y'all mentioned this, right? Because we all talk about Herb, how he does it all. He's effort, he's heart, he's everything, but he doesn't rebound. And rebounding literally takes effort and heart. Do y'all think maybe it's possibly a coaching staff like, hey, like let these guys go? Like I'm serious, like because like a lot of coaches say like, all right, these 3 guys go rebound, these 2 guys leak out, like as Five said. Or when a shot goes up, you 4 crash, you're getting back. Like that's a thing, and I'm wondering maybe schematically, maybe I got to pay more attention to it because that doesn't make sense to me. Because Herb Jones is smart, he's athletic, he has a will for the basketball, like he does all the dirty work, and rebounding hasn't really shown up much for him.
I'm curious y'all's opinion on that exact question, because if I saw him doing something other than attacking the glass, I would say yes, but I don't see that. Like I don't see him when a shot goes up from the opposite side and his man is standing on the 3-point line. I don't see Herb in a full sprint down to the other side of the court. I don't see him I just see him kind of hanging out. And it makes it sound like it's some huge negative or it's a huge knock on Herb. Like I think this is really the only part of his game. He's improved as a shooter. He's improved as a cutter. He's improved as a pass. Like he's done all of those things. For me, it just doesn't feel instinctual. Like the ball goes up, and if he's under the rim, sure, like he'll jump. But it's not I don't think Josh Hart is a great player. I think he's just a solid role player, a hustle guy. Everything. Shot goes up, Josh Hart's ass is hitting the glass, no matter what the coach said. Like it's my rebound.
Yeah.
And there are other guys that are like that. I just don't see that piece of Herb's game yet. Like he doesn't have that mentality yet.
But it's funny because he's instinctual on the weak side help when he's Ed Reed and the ball's up in the air and he's going to grab. Like that's what it's weird. It's an interesting. I don't know if Five or Lito, you want to add anything to that. We get to go ahead.
Yeah, no. Go ahead, Lito. My fault.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I think about it like this. There's one game this year where he's had, if I'm not mistaken, or is that just January, where he's had 10 rebounds, right? Or that's his career high.
Let me. I got it right here. Let's see.
His career high's 10.
I believe so. 10 or 11. I think he tied. It's one of those. I think about that in the sense of that doesn't tell me like he doesn't want to rebound. I do think it's philosophy because it's not just him that doesn't rebound, right? It's not just him. Yeah, he could help himself out a lot, right? Because defensive player, defensive team or first team, second team defense. I don't know if they have a second team defense. They do.
They do.
That's all tied in. Rebounding is tied into it for sure. So that would help him out a ton. But I do think it's philosophy. Also, with a guy like Trey Murphy, it's almost like he has to leak out to even get shots. Like, because he's not getting the ball on the other end. So it's almost like a catch-22. But for Herb, it's different because you don't really expect him to get the ball. He shouldn't not say want to get the ball on the other end, but he shouldn't expect to get the ball or plays be run for him or anything like that. I think this team relies on JV too heavily on the glass. Like, oh, he'll get it. We've seen multiple instances of guys just being lax in clutch situations on the rebounding.
Yep.
And time again, guess who isn't playing clutch minutes? JV. So that it goes hand in hand. Like, all right, you telling me the philosophy is to rebound better, but yet when JV isn't on the court, there's like a big rebounding gap. So what that just lets me know, like the philosophy is flawed.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's a really good point. I'm really interested. I'm gonna start really paying attention to that more often here. But let's go to the final segment here. So I will start with Lito and Five. You'll end it here, and then we'll go Lito, Ross, and Five. Because Five, I texted you today. The sweet spot for Herb Jones 3-point attempts, right? So Lito, when Herb Jones makes 2 or more threes, the Pelicans are 9-3. Okay. When he attempts 4 or more threes, they're 9-9. When he attempts 3 or less, they're 13-3. So I feel like the sweet spot is 3-point attempts a game.
Say that again.
Okay. So when he attempts 4 or more, just attempts, they're 9-9. When he attempts 3 or less, they're 13-3. When he makes 2 or more, they're 9-3. Do you think any of those, like, is there a sweet spot for Herb Jones in 3-point attempts?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like.
What do you think it is? Do you think it's 3 or less? Because I don't think it's like that's what like. It's interesting. I was trying to find a number for it. I just don't know because y'all say like if he's shooting 5 a game, like I think it's too much.
So look, yeah, he is between 2 and 3. That should be the cap on it. Now listen, if he got it going, that's totally different, right? But like I don't want Herb to just be out there forcing threes. That should not be the game plan. And look, to his credit, it's only been 5 games, but he's shooting 57% from 3 this month. So
how many attempts? It was about like 3.5 or something like that.
It was hold up, I'm gonna tell you. It's 3.5. Yep, 3.5. I mean, that's the story right there, right? Like that should tell you the story. And listen, the staff has the data on that. I think you continue to put Herb in spots where he's not working from a deficit, feeling like I'm standing here, I have no rhythm with the ball, I gotta shoot this, right? Because that's even though it's open and he technically has to shoot it, it's a bad shot
because they want that you're playing into the opponent's.
The defense wants you to shoot that shot,
right?
That's that we gonna live and we gonna die with Herb making or missing whatever those 3.5 threes are a game. And that's on both ends. That's on the Pelicans and the other team, right? Like the Pelicans go live with it because again, that's your land yet. The defense is gonna live with it because they like, well, shit, I'd rather him shoot it than CJ or BI or they get the ball in Zion's hands. So I think the Pelicans have to be smarter in their use. Justin, we talked about this earlier. We were texting, and I don't remember exactly what you said, but I said that you gotta be smarter with Herb's usage because he can do anything on the floor for real. I mean, obviously, besides being a shooter, but I mean, you get to the cup, he can facilitate, he can play defense probably 1 through 4. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all about the Justin. It's all about the user. It's all about the user, man. No, if there's no user error there, then you put him in the right spots. He going.
Jared, I was nationally ranked in Madden, by the way, in college. So yes, I know how to play that game. When you asked me, did I play Madden? I was nationally ranked. So
I was waiting on you to say that. I couldn't believe you didn't say that yesterday.
I had a bad show yesterday. I've rebounded. I feel better about it today. Reviewed the film, got a little bit better. That members only podcast is hilarious. Ross, go ahead.
I don't know what I think about that. My hunch tells me that he takes more in losses because generally we're losing and he's on the court and like we're trying to come back and everybody's forcing up shots. But it is interesting because it's two very different like sides of the same coin, right? Like we're 9-3 when he makes his threes, right? But when he attempts more than 4, we're 500. So it's and the volume is so low too. That's the tough part, right? We're talking about 4 threes. If he makes 2, right? This isn't CJ who's taking 8 a game or whatever the number is, right? For me, it goes back to, at least with Herb's shot, it's a confidence thing. Like Herb makes his first one. It's a different, like, it's almost like he doesn't feel the urge. Like he doesn't feel like, ooh, I have to force another one up because I missed that first. Like he's not that kind of offensive player yet where like, I don't think he's just like, he has a conscience. Like he's not a guy that's just going to like
Jordan
shooting
Hawkins
and shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting for the most part. But he does seem to, when he makes that first one, it's like he doesn't force anything else after that. Like he doesn't have to. And I think part of that is because when he makes his first one, they start guarding him. I don't have any film or anything in front of me to like support that. But my hunch is the reason you see that discrepancy is because it's almost like he's a guy that I'm going to make you make this first one. Like you're going to shoot me out of my defensive strategy on you. And so I think that's part of it too. But those are interesting stats.
5, go ahead, close it out.
All right, boom. So Ross, right? Like that's the kicker, right? That's the dude at the park that he can't shoot for real, but he knocked down that first one. Oh shit! You already know what kind of game it's about to be, right? It just fucks up your thought process, and I think like for Herb, like he gets the monkey off his back real early, right? You knock down that first one, cool. Now we get the hoop. Now a different ball game. Now we can just play. I ain't got to worry about because I already knocked down one. Nobody really tripping about if I shoot the next one in the corner. But if I knock that one down, oh, you got to really step out. Like, and Justin and I talked about this. I really think the sweet spot is like, I guess for the Pelicans to win, Herb has to go 66%. That means making 2 of 3. And
right, right. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to go for 2 or 3. I just thought the numbers were interesting and like attempts, and like I just thought like he. Go ahead.
They are very, very telling. Like, right? I think they do tell a story about what this team needs. And half the time when this team is down, Willie Green puts out a fucking defensive lineup, and you're down 20. So who gonna shoot the threes? Oh, I guess it's gonna be Herb. Like he's at least the one with the balls to be like, fuck it, I'll shoot it. You know, if he miss it, he cool with it. But I think using Herb in actions, right, as a screener, initiator, almost almost alleviates that pressure off of him. Like, all right, I got to be something in the offense, right? If you CJ's fine with just being an off-ball shooter. Trey Murphy's out there. He's like being around other shooters helps you, no matter what. Like,
because you
bro,
can start doing more for them. Screening,
yeah.
flare screening,
Flare
dribble
screening. Oh my
handoffs.
God. How
Like
many
he's
times
one of the
have we
best
seen-
flare screeners. I'll tell you, he's one of the best flare screeners in the league, Lito, and I'll stand on that shit. He's one of the best flare screeners in the league. He really is.
And this is my humble opinion about this. This team wasn't even flare screening until Josh Richardson got here last year. Like that was the first time I had seen this team flare screen. Like legit, no play. Hey, I'm gonna screen this dude. Boom, Trey Murphy's right here. I'm going to point. Throw the fucking ball over here. Like that's the Herb does that at nauseum at times. It's like he knows, like, all right, I need to get this involved. But you know, when you're the screener and you screen somebody, a back screen, boom, you can slip it. And get to the rim. And defenses have to guard you at that point, right? Because your ability to roll.
Right.
Justin, we talked about a play. I don't know if you have it clipped up, but we talked about a play. That's fun. We talked about a play in third quarter versus Sacramento. Herb's initiating, right? So you have to guard him, right? Just off general principle, you have to guard him because he's initiating. And he can get to the cup. So I think he passes the ball to Brandon. He goes screen for Brandon. It's a double drag for Brandon. Brandon kicks it to Jonas, gets it back, swings it to CJ. CJ then swings it to Trey Murphy for a three. Check the backside of the play, right? I think Keegan Murray is guarding Herb because that's what they got to switch, right? And
Fox switched on to Brandon Ingram.
Yeah. So Keegan's guarding Herb. Now Herb slightly moves to the corner after setting the screen. You almost have to guard the action just for the simple fact Herb's a really good slot cutter, right? Just putting him in that position. Keegan Murray has to account for that just with his eyes. By doing so, he can't account for Jonas on the help side, which also allows the guy who's guarding Trey Murphy to be off of Trey Murphy. These are all actions that need to be manipulated. This is what coaching is. You account for all 10 eyes of the defense. If they're a half second, if their thought process is late, that's cash. That's the NBA.
Yep.
You're not counting. Matter of fact, you're not counting seconds. You're counting milliseconds in the NBA because just that quick is cash, and that's what you have to do.
And that was saying it was a quick action. It's on the Twitter, but no, that was well described. That was a really good point there. 5. No, yeah, it was good about Herb. I'm interested. I'm definitely gonna start looking more about rebounding with Herb Jones. Once again, presented to you by the Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers Pro Pel Stock. Let's hear from DraftKings Sportsbook.
The NBA season is in full swing, and when I can't get enough of the action on the court, I spice things up betting on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Right now, new customers bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code BOOT. New customers can bet just $5 on the NBA and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code BOOT. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms.
Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all tomorrow night.